like 8
Holy
years.
shit,
Like,
man.
Did you guys give me a bike that you to ride for God's sake?
Yeah, there were some hills, those up to big bridges, and I was like, really? Can I
You got
can
a
I
gaming
go
headphones on. You ready to game? Going to World of Warcraft after this.
Oh, the glasses there.
Oh yeah, the glasses. This is the first glasses. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we went
Welcome
through quite
to
a
the
few
planet.
classes.
What does that mean? Welcome to the Man of Steel. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. That was fun.
It was actually a lot of fun to watch that again. It's been a while, and I do really like that movie.
Yeah, I love that.
A lot of
What
fun
was your
memories.
favorite? What was your favorite scene to shoot, Henry?
Favorite scene to shoot.
Sounds like a reporter.
Yeah. My favorite scene
Holy
to shoot.
shit.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say to shoot because I have fond memories of shooting all the scenes.
This guy still got
That
his
was a
mustache and
massive
shit. He's
part
about
of
to
my
shoot
life, and
Mission Impossible in his apartment.
But I think what I loved watching the most was that really cool moment where Soups gets up after being floored by the world engine and then just, slowly standing up through the gravity beam and then just nails it. That turned out really, really cool. But there are so many cool scenes in the movie. It's tough to pick just one.
Yeah, that's amazing. I agree. That's an amazing.
Oh man.
I really love it. So
yeah. How about yours, Debbie? Zach, what was your favorite scene to shoot?
My favorite scene to shoot,
Holy
I think,
shit.
although it was also the hardest, was the Smallville battle. I think that was the most exciting to see all that stuff happen. But I also remember it was like 100 and like some odd degree. It was really hot. And it was hot for me, but you guys were all in those suits. And I remember the cooling systems that we had to stick in because, it was dangerous. At one point we had you guys cool.
Damn, I can't stop smiling.
But it was just exciting to see that.
Holy shit, dude.
I think it was literally 100 degrees, and you guys were in basically wetsuits. And I remember one time Henry was had his suit, and he pulled the sleeve of his suit, and sweat,
just gushing out. Yeah,
a garden hose of sweat poured out, and I was like, oh my god.
It was very, very hot. I remember everyone trying to usher me into air-conditioned rooms in between setups and takes, and I was like, guys, I've got to stay one temperature. If you keep on getting me cool, it's going to be miserable for me every time I go back into the heat.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my pneumonia next time I walk under it out. Cool. It was it was a version of
oh, dude.
you were like Swedish. You know how if you go from a sauna to snow, but it was in reverse.
Yeah, that was a fun sequence actually. How long did that sequence take? It was a while.
The Smallville sequence, I think, was a week. We shot for a week of just fighting. Yeah, it was intense. Maybe it might have been more.
And the town was so great too. They had to shut down.
Yeah, they let us pretty much.
Plano. Yeah.
Yeah, destroy that town. No,
and then I think they were having, because afterwards I think a lot of people came to the town because they wanted to.
I think for a while there was a museum, like a love museum. It's called that, but I don't know.
Yeah, a building.
They had artifacts in it, really important artifacts.
They were so friendly, and I remember the police department and fire department, they were so helpful.
Oh yeah, I my Plano police department.
I remember driving to work every day. Well, I didn't drive, but being driven to work every day, and there were kryptonite cookie signs and stuff at all the farms, and that was a nice touch that made us all feel really at home there. So thank you for that.
By the way, it was beautiful. You remember the cicadas when we shot at the farm? They were so loud. I remember we had. It was just so loud, all the sounds. I remember all the production problems.
Well,
the sound got ruined.
The sound totally did get ruined.
We had to ADR all of that.
That's good. Anyway,
I don't know, that was pretty good, Zach.
Thank you. I'm known for my cicada imitation. I'm asked to do it at parties all the time. I'm like, guys, it's embarrassing. I'm so good at it. I was going to do some Q&A with some fans, but you're here. Do you want to?
Hey, yeah, I'm in.
You want to join in and hear some of these?
I think we have some people that we can have join our Zoom here.
Cool.
I didn't even know what Zoom was before,
Yeah, now everything is Zoom. Now you can't not Zoom.
I just
Now
thought
I
it was really
zoom,
quickly.
I zoom like, I zoom with you upstairs to like, hey, I want a sandwich. Zoom. As opposed to like, let me just look at my.
I think it's just gonna take them a bit to get.
God, they got some fans coming on here and shit. Damn. Lucky bastards.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Guys. Hey, Henry. Zack, Debbie.
Hey,
Yeah.
what's up, guys? How you
What's
doing?
gonna happen, man? I'm
Hey,
super
Joey.
nervous.
Zack, Debbie, Henry, it's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Awesome.
Were you able to watch? Were you watching?
Yes. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
How was your sync? Did you guys get the sync okay?
Yeah, it was pretty close.
Give or take?
Yeah.
Hi,
Give and
guys.
take. Yeah. I was like, what is he talking about?
Well, you know what I mean. Them trying to like have the movie match.
Oh yeah, no. I was there were things you were talking about, and I was like, I'm definitely in the wrong place.
Well, I can jump around. Sometimes I would see something during the movie, and I'd go, "Hey, that reminds me of something that happens at the end of the movie." And I'm sure if you tuned in at that point, you'd be like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
what the hell is he talking about? He's insane. He's lost his mind."
I just got so wrapped up in that hot dog truck.
I don't know. I'm in a grid setting that I don't know if I see every single person. There's Henry. There you go. Swipe over. Swipe? Really?
Yeah, just try.
You're making me nervous.
Come on.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Hi, guys.
A second
No,
page.
one fits. We're on the iPad, so not everyone fits on one page on the iPad. So.
Yeah, same here with the
Thank
phone.
you guys for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Lucky bastards. How did they even get out here?
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Hey Henry, what's going on?
Hi, Henry. I love you.
So guys,
I'm so happy.
you all have some questions, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Oh yeah, so let's see.
Okay.
Um,
It's like old man.
So, I'm just looking here. Joey, go ahead. Ask me your question because I think it's pretty. I mean, I think it's, as far as the movie goes, it's pretty important.
Sure. So it actually fits in because at the beginning you talked about the reference with how Doomsday broke that moon overlooking Krypton, and I hadn't heard a lot of people talk about that. So I was wondering if there were any Easter eggs in any of your DC movies or movies in general that people haven't caught yet, or any that you wanted to put in but you decided ultimately not to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I think there's probably a couple hundred that are in there. I haven't really done a running tally of, maybe that's a project of mine. That maybe during my isolation, I'll do an internet scrub of all the Easter eggs.
No, bro. No.
But I gotta say, I haven't done that yet, and I'm sorry, but I will. But I think, I'll say, some of my favorite. I mean, just there in that last sequence, just having the Wayne logo on the satellite and the LexCorp gas truck. It's not really an Easter egg because you can see it, but it also is just.
My dog is right here.
It's a bigger Easter egg than you probably thought at the time.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I think that's fine. And also, I think, talking about just for instance, the guy with the Martian screensaver on his computer at the base, at the Arctic base, because he was the guy that brought the Martian images from Washington to into that Dr. Manhattan sequence for the Manhattan. But
I got that too. I thought that was great.
Look, I think partly that the reason why we have so many Easter eggs in the movies is because I think We have such a good time, and we paint so much. There's so much detail, and we spend so much time thinking about everything that we inevitably end up with either like super important Easter eggs, like what I would consider, LexCorp, or we end up with super silly ones like the hot dog truck that's driving around.
Right.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think what it shows is that there's a lot of caring and a lot of attention to detail. But
Yeah, and I think no matter the degree, like it shows that you care about this world that you're building, and I thank you for that. It's really great to see.
Justin North.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see. I have another screen, so I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, if I look like I'm doing this because I'm scrolling. Let's see. So I have one from here. Chris. Chris, what do you got, sir?
Well, my favourite character in Man of Steel, or one of my favourite characters, is Jonathan Kent. I thought that Kevin Costner was perfect in the role of Jonathan Kent. And what you've already said before about him bringing sensitivity to the role, and being a father myself and listening to his dialogue, which I thought was perfect. Everything he says in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman was wonderful. My question to you was, and I think you've answered it already during the stream, was what is your favourite piece of dialogue or life advice that Jonathan gives to Clark in Man of Steel? And also, hi Henry, you're my hero.
Thanks, mate.
You're welcome.
It's cool because he actually plays a hero, so it's a great.
Yeah.
Worked out.
Thank goodness for that. Otherwise, it'd be super awkward.
I brought some beer because I noticed you had a bottle of vodka there at the beginning, so I brought beer.
I said it was not vodka. I said that. I don't want to be like.
And one more thing.
How do we know?
Happy birthday to your mum.
Oh wait, what? Say that again.
I said happy birthday to your mum a few days ago, Debbie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
She might be watching right now.
She is watching. She was here in March because she lives on the East Coast, and because of the quarantine, we're like, you're not going back. You're staying here. So it's been nice having her.
Yeah, she basically is. He's in like the
Scam, come on. What's wrong? What's wrong, buddy?
Enjoying it. Spending time with the kids, and she's been cooking. So we've gained, like we say, it's like
it's ridiculous.
quarantine 15 or something.
It's a quarantine 15. That is right. We have it to happen.
And also, Zack, before you answer the question, I just want to say thank you so much for your movies and connecting me to the most wonderful people in the world. You are a true hero of mine. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
That's kind. Thank you so much. And I guess, yeah. And look, I feel like I was saying, I feel the same way about Jonathan Kent. I think Kevin's work is like really humanizes him in an amazing way. And actually, I think Kevin has this kind of simple, but really earnest and beautiful way about it. He's also an amazing athlete. I know this is an aside, but we would throw the football or on set, and I like to throw, whatever object is around. And it's just nice, it's always fun. It's like Field of Dreams. I was like, this is awesome. Throwing football with Kevin Costner.
Field of Dreams.
For me, I guess, growing up, it's a pretty cool experience. But again, like I said, when I was watching the movie, it's that moment for me when he says, just the way he says, "You are my son," just so, for me, it's just really melts your heart.
Yeah.
Really feel it,
I always feel like this whole thing, and maybe because, we have adopted children, it is this great story about who is your family. And, because to me, at the end, it's like you Clark makes the choice to adopt us as his family, you know, the world, humanity.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just think it's really beautiful, you know, in that's why this story, you know, is such a personal, I think, story for me.
Definitely. One of my favourite scenes as well is at the very end, and and Henry is overlooking his dad's, you know, Superman's dad's grave, and Martha says, "He saw it, Clark, believe me," and then it cuts to the scene where Jonathan Kent's watching him with the red sun cape on his back, and you know the typical Superman, you know, the Superman stance. It's just magical, truly magical. And I always look at it and think, you know, did my dad look at me like that when I was little? And now I look at my children. You know, what are they going to be when they grow up? And it's truly amazing. Every time I watch it, it always gets me in there, right here.
The story for generation.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good because that was, you know, when you make a movie and you have a moment like this, and you have this idea, you know, for some moment where that might be a thing. And you, like, you know, the first time you sort of talk about it or take a note or you do a doodle, and because hopefully as a filmmaker or, you know, an actor or hopefully an audience at the same in our relationship that we all have with each other, you feel it that first time, you know, and when you feel it that first time, you have to go through a process to make it real, right? And I think that that process of you know, realizing it and then getting actors and then filming it and all that stuff, it gets a little away from you every time. Not away, but it gets a little harder to get that feeling, you know. And I think that it's an awesome thing when you get it, and if you see it on screen, and maybe the first time you see it, you're like, that was it, that's it, I felt it, you know, it happened. And then when you talk to someone who's never seen it,
Oh man, I can't take it. Come on.
you know, had to go through this ladder of events to get it to.
I've been up all fucking night. I haven't slept. It's crazy, actually. I really did want to sleep.
Cool thing because
Because I'm pretty tired.
Like it worked. You know, like the process worked. It didn't fail me. But, you know, I'm not saying that it did every time, but it did. It's pretty cool. Well, Sylvia, is that how I say your name?
Yes,
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. First, you were amazing in the research and get all the big parts, please. And you kind of answered my question already. Did you have a plan for Supergirl in the DC Extended Universe when you made Man of Steel? There is a Man of Steel Preston comic featuring Kara. Was there ever a plan to continue the story later, introducing her in a Superman solo like you did with Wonder Woman, in Batman v Superman, and then give her a solo? Because the theme of family is so strong in the DCU that I think it would be nice to see that meeting between Superman and her not end up like it.
Yeah, I mean it's an awesome question, and by the way, you know, it's a super powerful character, and you know, and I would say like an amazingly iconic character, and we really wanted to keep as we went forward. It was always, you know, my intention just to broaden the universe and to continue to like, you know, start to bring in more and more of the family, if you will. And I think that she certainly falls into that category. And certainly the idea of a standalone.
Yeah, I gotta tweet it.
It's cool. It's a cool idea. I don't have a script or anything in mind, but it'll be amazing to see for all of us. I think.
Thank you. I love you all.
That's cool. Let's see. Who else? You think?
How about this one?
Can we talk to Jacob? Jacob.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Snyder and Mrs.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good.
Okay, and Dad,
The bag in the house.
okay, and Dad was about the suit that came from the Kryptonian ship. How did Dad, who or whoever designed the suit, that Kryptonian suit to be blue, and why did one of the family members of the L family chose to be blue, red, and yellow? I mean, what does the color represent?
Sure. I mean, I talked about it a little bit when we were watching the movie, but I think that there's a lot of ways to think about the suits. We had massive conversations when we were making the movie about like what the suits were. Were they, because you can see that like what we try to do is the basic suit, like what the sort of we call the skin suit that Clark is wearing and that Jor-El is wearing and Zod is wearing. That's kind of that is the practical, like everyday wear of a Kryptonian out in the world, right? Like you see them, everything that they're doing, they have this skin suit on underneath their, whether it be armor, whether it even be like they're in some like those like mech suits that they're walking around that planet on. They always underneath they have this kind of consistent, that skin suit. And then I feel like we always talked about the cape being sort of a formalized version of that. So like in the dream sequence with Zod, he's wearing a cape in that sequence, right? But in the other sequences, he's not, right? So it's like there's like a formalized version of the skin suit that has a cape. And so my way of thinking about it is two ways. You can either think that the House of L, which is a long-standing house of noble stature on Krypton, that their ancestors were explorers, and it was literally part of that family that was exploring the universe, which I'm fine with. But also, I think you can think about it in terms of because Jor-El's AI is in the ship, that he can these skin suits are controlled by the ship and manufactured or created in the Crescents, and so they would represent different guilds and different presentations. And I think that the red and blue, like I was saying, is a diplomatic presentation color for the Kryptonians, and would allow this notion of diplomacy and sort of, if you listen to what Jor-El is saying during that sequence in his explanation of what you're going to mean to the people of Earth, you can imagine that would be, what he would hope for the outward image of Superman to the world would be. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Henry, what was it like for you when you put on the suit after it was made for the first time? What was that moment like for you?
Difficult to forget. I'll say that much. It was a bit of I remember putting it on for the screen tests, and I think Zack, you sent me a picture of the Polaroid, the literal Polaroid of someone, you taking a picture of me or someone taking a picture of me, and that moment when I stepped outside for the first time, and it all been so hush hush, everything had been kept under wraps, and everyone was walking around behind closed doors, and then I stepped outside and everyone kind of turned and looked, and you had that moment where I didn't feel ridiculous. It felt empowering. It was a remarkable experience. It was something which I will never forget, because if you told me as a kid that
Can't take it away, dude. These questions.
blue outfit and you're going to stand in front of a whole bunch of people and are going to take pictures.
I mean, I want to hear all these questions, but is there a reveal or not, man?
On the chest.
Fuck.
And there's something which lives in our psyche down in pop culture and what Superman represents that carried an extra magic in that moment and made it something really, really special for me.
And what was interesting, because when we were doing the test, we didn't have time. We were still developing the suit, so we asked them if we got Christopher Reeve's suit out of archives. And I remember it came, and they had white gloves, and they pulled it out, and we were like, "Oh my god!" And that's what we used for the screen test until we were able to develop. And also, it takes months to get it, and it had to be, specific to Henry's proportions and.
Our suits for the movie,
Yeah, it was quite a process.
Well, it's funny too because I tell that story too about you coming out in the Christopher Reeve suit, which, by the way, is not. Let's be frank. That suit has the underwear on the outside. It has. If I laid it on the table in front of you, it is not heroic looking. It is made out of polyester or something, and it's not. Even like ours, like the modern suits have some shape, right? If it's laying on the ground, you're like, oh, the guy who wears that, looks like a big dude. But the Christopher Reeve suit is literally like, if you took off a stocking and you laid it on the table, it's kind of what it looks like. It's not, it's kind of this flimsy thing. But, and when Henry came out of the trailer in that suit, and all of our, we had a small crew to shoot the test shot, and those gruff dudes, I turned around and looked at him. I was like, oh, geez, what's it going to be? They were like, badass. And I was like, oh, okay. Really? They were like, that's badass, bro. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's okay. That's good. You run the gauntlet on that one, but it was good. Yeah, and then, by the way, it's not against Henry said, you look at that outfit, and you go like, oh, that's like, I think it's we're all programmed to see Superman, just like even you guys with your S's on, you look like, you look strong.
Yeah, it's a powerful image, Superman, and it stands for a lot more than just a blue suit.
Yeah.
Zack, I've got a question for you, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Jor-El's AI consciousness construct, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
How complete is that? How advanced is the Kryptonian technology in the sense that is that consciousness capable of love?
I don't think so. In my mind, it was like he kind of had to load what he believed to be what a grown-up version of himself needs. I mean, I think it's super complex, but I don't know that it is a complete person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and the reason why I say that is because I don't want. I think it undercuts a little bit of Jor-El's sacrifice if he
He's still like,
stuck his consciousness into a thumb drive and tucked it onto the ship and said like,
probably should have done that.
sorry, Laura. Sorry, Laura. I'm out of here. But I do believe as I think about it like a diary that he wrote to his son, right? Like a love letter. Like a love letter to his son.
Okay.
So that when he got there, whatever, and finally came full circle, that he would be able to it's like, you're in the attic of your house and you find this letter your father wrote you when like, to my adult son, read when you're, 40. And you open it and you read it and you're like, oh my God. That's kind of how I imagine Big Jor-El.
Okay. So it carries a message of love that itself is not capable of love.
I think so.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
That's what I think that's cool. It's a great question, and it's a thing we grappled with because
this is nuts. I am so fucking
have given something up to get you out.
Right.
Which I think is super important because there is a theme of sacrifice throughout the movie. And I think that theme is, it's like everyone Clark comes in contact with, the lesson that they give is that for a greater good, yeah.
Hey, Zack, mind if I jump in for a second?
What do you got?
I just wanted to tell you and Debbie, a lot of people love you and care about you, and we thank you for all the work that you've done in your films. And Henry, you're great. We hope to see you again soon, hopefully.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing. I like your. I see you got a Superman right over your shoulder there.
Yeah. Behind you.
I'm in the search
Yeah, look out!
multiple Walmarts. It's about 36 inches tall.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's like, I was gonna say.
Don't say anything. Good,
Super far
good
away.
question. Let him pick a question.
It's like universal things of every superhero should be.
Oh yeah, he is a big. He is big.
There we go.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I appreciate and I love you people. They are amazing people. I appreciate you guys are amazing human beings.
Where's Danny? Is Danny there?
Hi. Hello.
Murray, I think you're on my other screen. Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. You're like the most intense close-up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have problems with the audio.
Oh, where are you?
I come from Chile,
Oh, perfect.
like south, far
Yeah,
south.
south of here. It's slightly south. If I get on the Harbor Freeway, keep going.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I have a question
Yeah.
that is the mother of all our questions as a fandom.
Oh no.
Oh, really?
Oh no.
Yes.
No. No, of course it's cut it off right there.
Yes. Yeah, when will I release it?
Don't cut the stream this time.
I'm sorry. Look, the truth is,
Here it is.
I'm not 100%. Me personally, I'm not really. And I've said it before. I'm not really in control of it necessarily, right? Like, I mean, I've said it exists, and I've been very clear with my what I did with it, and but then, it's not really it's not really up to me per se. If it was up to me, I would have probably already left it on a thumb drive in a bathroom somewhere.
Yeah, because people like picking up thumb drives in bathrooms. And putting
Well,
them
not
Most of you do with your Saturday night.
yeah, things not to
would be
do.
putting
101.
Pharrell all over it.
There's a true story there somewhere.
Oh no, about the thumb drive in the bathroom?
Yeah, guys, whoever's listening, do not pick up any thumb drives you find in bathrooms.
This is not.
Well, try it out.
That is not a
I'm not
situation.
suggesting this as you go forward. This is not. Yeah, everyone's going. Okay, go to the look. Let's go see what's in the bathroom.
There's going to be a news story about that.
Yeah.
In the bathroom.
Yeah, looking for thumb drives. And also, I promise you, I did not put that. Don't pick the one that's in there up, because that's not mine. So whatever's on that one is not something you want to see, probably.
Damn.
But
No.
look, I don't know. It's a hard question.
I don't know. For me,
I can't even listen to it. I can't even listen
this
to
for
it.
me was such a big moment because I remember when that first trailer dropped, which I hadn't been privy to beforehand, and I just saw it with everyone else. And I remember exactly what I was going through in my life at the time. I remember where I was, remember who I watched it with, and then I watched it about 1,500 times after that. And that whole experience of shooting the movie was a life change for me. The whole experience of the press tour, watching the movie, it was definitely a fulcrum point which changed my life from what it was then to what people perceive now as being famous.
No.
And that was a massive shift for me. And I remember so much of it in very, very exacting detail and with all of the emotions.
I was so
I
excited
was
for
going through
today.
a lot at the time as well, sort of aside from the work stuff. But it was for me a massive, massive journey, and I loved watching it. I still love watching that movie, and I will remember those days until the very end for me. It's been a long journey since. I do think it would be fun to perhaps have worked with a trilogy or a trilogy a bit differently, and I would love to see a version of Justice League without the moustache.
Would it be okay if you had like I don't know, like the
Innovative.
version of like from the Reign of Superman, where he rises up and has.
Oh man, I don't know how I feel. I feel heartbroken, but it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Yeah.
It's a long Q&A.
Well, listen, there's some hairstyles that just don't age. Awesome. And I would put that mullet in the category. I mean, look, for me, one of the things we wanted to do with Justice League was when he rose from came back, he was, iconic in some ways. Iconic to the risk of Superman. Maybe minus the beard and the mullet, but with other aspects of that look that I feel like are super fortunate. But yeah, it was always my intention to not, I'd love to see that version of Superman without the mustache, or at least without that, whatever that implication of a mustache.
Yeah, without the mustache. It's an important thing.
Yeah, but I think seriously, like to see. I mean, we were on this journey, and all these characters. I mean, it was this hero's journey for all these characters, and I think it's a shame that we never saw it come to fruition. The way
Man, they talking about it like they know something, but they ain't saying nothing. Making me mad, sad, at the same time. But sad. Oh my god, I remember.
It would have been. Yeah. Listen, and look, like I told you, I have it. So it's just a question of you got to find a way to show it someday.
Oh my god, why did they let all these people on
Right?
here?
You think I should just show it?
Yeah, I think we should.
I reckon.
No disagreement here.
I think that. I mean, I don't have I can't show the movie right now, because it's still a little bit new. But
What? No way.
there is this. I have this. I don't know if this is helpful.
What is this?
See that?
Oh! Oh my god!
Oh my god!
He fucking did it, dude!
Nice. Get the hell out of here! Oh my god.
He fucking did it, dude!
So that's coming. There's a little thing there. It's a little thing.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
Yeah. I mean, the good news is there's one little piece of bad news, and that is that it'll probably be in 21, the actual release, because we gotta.
Holy shit!
But it's doing it. So get ready.
Holy
Yeah, Brett time.
Nice job, Danny.
Definitely prepared.
Well, all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you
so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Zack.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Okay. That's it. That's it. That's all I needed. That's all we wanted. Holy shit. Oh my god. We got it. We got it. I fought fucking 2 years for this. Holy shit. All right, man. That's out. I gotta stop. Because I'm going to be gone. Holy shit. Oh my god.